Okay, I've got a question. What do the Jingle Bell Hop, streetcars, and a couple of really distracted architects have in common?
Well, somehow, believe it or not, they are all key plot points in 2022's A New Orleans Noel. We've got a lot to talk about, Josh.
We do, Jennifer, and we'll unwrap it all on this episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
If you like holiday movies from the classics to newbies, let's sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh. Sit down and watch, then have a talk with Jennifer and Josh.
Hi, friends. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Josh, and thanks for joining us for another episode. And thank you to those of you who have taken the time to like and subscribe and review. I got to tell you, when you're trying to start a podcast, you may not think it matters, but these 5-star reviews and these comments really do help us get our podcast in front of more eyeballs, don't they, Jennifer?
They do. Evidently, there's like 2.5 million podcasts out there,
Who knew?
and more are reviewing these movies than we thought there were.
Mm,
So, all of the ratings and reviews, although they do warm our hearts, and they do, please note that.
trust me.
It's also there's more to it than that. It does help us kind of get featured more and helps us pop up in people's algorithms more. And we're all about the algorithms, Josh.
These days, apparently so. So, if
Right.
you've not taken the time to do so, we would really appreciate it if you would just give us a 5-star review and even write just a couple of sentences on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen, just to give a little bit of feedback about what you're liking the most about the podcast. We have every intent of continuing to do this, and we really want to make this podcast everything you guys want it to be. So we're going to take all the feedback in the off season, Jennifer, and I think we're going to see what we need to tweak, see what we can change, see what we can add, see what works, and go from there, right?
Exactly. If you wanted to say something like, Jennifer is an inspiration, that'd be enough. That's all you have to say.
Right? Or Josh is a dud. I mean, I would even take that so long as it's a 5-star review, right? I mean, that's apparently what
Their
all that
audio
matters.
needs work.
Their audio, yes. Dear listener,
We're going to
if
give a
you
superlative
knew,
to our audio for most
oh,
improved because one of
most
these days we'll
improved.
figure it out.
Dear listener, if you knew technologically what we have gone through over the past 21 episodes trying to get this audio thing figured out, yikes, we have really been through the ringer, but I think we're finally starting to get there. Knock on wood.
We'll see, won't we?
We will. And so,
Fingers crossed.
fingers crossed. And without tempting fate further, Jennifer, let's just go ahead and start talking about A New Orleans Noel, our first movie from Lifetime.
I would love to. So the synopsis says this follows Grace and Anthony, who, despite having gone to college to study architecture together, are too different. But things between them change after both are hired to work on the same place and end up celebrating Christmas together.
And we picked this one because we thought the cast looked amazing. I mean, Patti LaBelle, come on.
And you love Patty's pies, don't you?
I love Patti pies, and she starts talking about pies, and she also does a lot of praline, which I've always called them praline, but everyone calls them pralines.
I'm
So,
probably going to say it Praline when we talk
ugh,
about it. I'm sorry. I know I'm wrong. It's just
sorry
the
to all of those
mm,
of you in New Orleans. We are just here. We are West Virginians
yeah.
who say praline. So
Yeah,
figure it out. Yep.
Pralines. Yeah, it's her, and then it's Keshia Knight Pulliam, who was Rudy Huxtable on the Cosby Show. Probably gonna call her Rudy at some point. Just know
Stay
that.
tuned.
Stay tuned. And so, what more did you need to know? I did not realize when we drafted this, though. I didn't realize that All Saints Christmas, which I should have realized this, but I didn't realize that that was a New Orleans Christmas movie as well. So we have
Yeah.
two taking place in New Orleans this season.
Yeah.
I'm
What do you
okay with
think it
it.
is? Do you think it's that it's sort of a unique kind of cultural place, or why?
Think so, and it's Southern. Maybe they'll do some in Nashville. Well, they did one in Nashville a couple years
Hmm.
ago. Did you watch that? It was like a
I did
Nashville
not.
Christmas
No.
Carol thing.
Ugh.
Kix Brooks was one of the ghosts.
Mm.
It was bad. It
Well,
was really bad.
there you have
So
it.
maybe it's better we're going to Nolans now.
Certainly a lot to talk about, so let's just go ahead and get into it.
So we open up with the credits and it's sweeping shots of New Orleans, and 43 seconds in, we have a shot of Cafe Du Monde.
Of course. Get your
That didn't
beignets.
take long at all. Yeah, get your beignets. Then we see, I saw in the credits, Whoopi Goldberg is an executive producer.
Who
Hubba
knew?
what?
What?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I really was hoping for a Whoopi cameo, and well, spoiler alert, we didn't get that, but here we are.
No. Yeah.
So we meet our leading lady, Rudy, who plays Grace Hill. She is staying with her friend Alexis for this architect gig that she has landed in town, and her friend offers her Cajun eggnog coffee. Josh, have you ever had such a thing? I know you
I
love the
have
eggnog and you love
not.
coffee.
I love coffee, but the way it was described, it sounds just a lot like coffee with bourbon in it, right?
I guess a lot of bourbon at that for
Yeah,
breakfast.
right? Yeah. Starting their day the right way. The only way you do in New Orleans, I
Yes,
guess.
I
Yeah.
guess so. So Grace is a freelance architect.
Is
Now,
that a
I'm
thing?
not an architect. Well, no. I mean, I guess it can be, but you have to be licensed in each state that you're practicing in, and you have to pay fees and meet, exam requirements, et cetera, et cetera. So to be
Hmm.
a freelance architect seems like a big, troublesome expense to endure. I don't know that the juice would be worth the squeeze there, but here we are. Grace is
Seems
going
like
to
one
do
of
it.
those logistical hurdles that we're just gonna fly right over for the sake of the movie. Anyway,
So she talks about her client, and it's Praline mogul Loretta Brown, aka Patti
Patti
LaBelle.
LaBelle. Mm-hmm.
Her and her friend are strolling through town, where they went to college, and they see a fella named Anthony, and let me hide behind some bushes and some poinsettias because she had a crush on him, and she doesn't want to see him. She doesn't know what to say to him. They lost touch. And I guess her parents both died in a car accident shortly thereafter college or at the end of college, during college. Anyways, um, that's why she moved away from town, is kind of what we're led to believe. Uh, what's her name? Grace. I keep wanting to call her Rudy. Grace gets to the house for her project for the renovation, and Anthony, the guy, walks out, and it turns out he is Patti LaBelle, Miss Loretta's grandson, who is also an architect. They're both going to work on the renovation of this historic New Orleans home. Why? Why do we need two architects?
Well, because clearly Grandma's got other things at play here, right?
Well, yeah, grandma's playing Cupid, but that's bonkers that she's hiring two architects. It seems like a nightmare. But they kind of walk around the home, they competitively spar. He wants to blow out all the walls and make it more modern, and she wants to preserve the historic beauty. Whatever will they do?
Right.
Stay
Yeah.
tuned.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be fair, I'm on her side. He doesn't need to make that home super modern. It was a very nice old house from like the 20s.
And I would probably bet that there were probably historic restrictions on being able to do what he wanted to do in the first place. So I'm Team
Well, if
Grace
it's on the
on this one.
interior, they probably wouldn't care as much. Just
Hmm.
guessing.
There you
But
go.
from the street view, it should be the same. Anywho. Okay. So cut to Anthony is decorating the tree with his brother and his mom says maybe he needs to show grandma that he appreciates the history and the family. Was this when he decided he wanted to try to make the pralines? Because I missed why he does that.
I think this was. I think
There's this
that
whole B plot
he,
of him trying to reconcoct the
yeah.
recipe and master the pralines, but I didn't really understand where that came from.
And I think the implication is, Jennifer, that he has not done a good job of sort of doing the family thing. And his family has been calling him on it. Like he's off been chasing his career and not being with them. And so I think as a gesture, he decides that he's going to try to figure out how to make grandma's pralines. I'm going to have the
He
hardest time
doesn't need to
saying
do
it that way.
that. I know.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to do that. She's still here making the pralines.
I know. It's not like she's kicked the
We
bucket.
need
Patti
somebody
LaBelle's over
to
there with
make.
her very long blue nails doing her thing.
They were so long. Her nails were at least 3 inches long. There's praline dust all up in those nails. You just know it.
I found it so distracting because in every scene, Patti LaBelle, she talks with her hands like right here in front of her face
Oh,
the
look at
entire
YouTube. If
time.
you're a podcast
Right.
listener, you have to
So
see
it's
this.
like this. So basically we get
And then this
this
nail,
and this nail that's like this, the whole
the nail to finger ratio.
it's bonkers.
Patti can do no wrong. So
No, she can't.
it's
I'll
not
let
a
it slide.
critique. It's more of a comment.
It's more of an observation, if you will.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anyway.
So yes, Anthony's been a busy architect. He needs to get back to his family roots, I guess. But the praline thing didn't make any sense to me. Here we are. Okay, so Grace comes out of the house the next day that she's staying at, and she needs some inspiration. So she looks in a magazine for 0.2 seconds, and oh, I got it. If only it were that easy. But all right. So we get more sweeping shots of Nolans, and that did get me in my feels. But she was the only person there.
I know. Where
There
was
was
everybody else?
nary another soul on the street. It's just her gazing at all the buildings, and there's
Lovingly,
nobody
yeah.
else. She starts sketching a church cathedral in the park. How quaint is that? And then this random girl shows up and says, you forgot all the people in your picture. Here, let me help you, and takes to sketching over top of it. This girl's name is Jordan. It turns out, whose niece is it? Anthony's niece. So
Of
Anthony walks up
course.
with Patti LaBelle, and Patty's looking like a queen in that hat, is what I wrote down. It was a very floofy, black, sassy number of a
Church
hat.
lady hat. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I
And we
wrote
learned that
hat
Jordan, oh,
envy.
had him for sure. So Jordan's mom, who would be Anthony's sister-in-law, is in Turkey and she's in the military. So they threw that in there. That'll come back later. And Patty invites them all over to her house for some sweet potato pie with pralines at her house. And they get in a streetcar and ride over. Have you ever been in a streetcar, Josh?
I have, yes. I rode streetcars when I was in New Orleans. Nolans. See, yeah,
Collins.
Nolans.
Mhm.
I did think that this streetcar moment that we get with these two where they make googly eyes at each other, this felt really forced to me. They went from reluctant about this relationship to all in on this relationship in 5 seconds. Did you feel like it just
Uh,
turned really fast?
It did. Yeah, I think there must have been another scene, like an intermediate scene that got cut because
Yeah.
it was night and day. Unless we're led to believe that she let the niece in on her sketches and that showed him a different side of her or something. That's the only thing that
Yeah.
happened.
I don't know. Yeah, it
Maybe
was
they'd been having
very
some more of that
sudden.
Cajun eggnog and
I
they're
know.
like, ah, caution to the wind.
Yeah, it's all good. Let's go
Go
for
have pie.
it.
So at the house, Grace is very nervous to be at a big family event, and then they all gather around the table and they ask Grace to say grace. That's a lot of pressure to
Right?
assume that anybody who you don't really know is a Christian, B, willing to say grace, C, willing to say it in front of people that she doesn't really know.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, I don't like praying out loud, so I would have broken out in hives in a cold sweat probably if I'd been asked to do this.
Right. Well, we also sort of get a couple times early on that she has a problem with the concept of family. And she has this obviously very tragic backstory. And I think she has a hard time letting people in and really keeping people close to her. So that's obviously her internal hurdle that she's got to get over.
Which doesn't really fit her personality, though. She has a very warm and welcoming personality.
And I thought so too.
But,
Yeah. And we sort
anyways,
of get this message throughout of family are the people that you choose, which she seems to have a really hard time with for someone who has presumably really close friends, including Alexis, the friend that she's there
mhm,
visiting in the first place. So I mean, it was a little odd to me.
agreed. But she fakes having to take a call to get out of praying. I can appreciate that.
Been there, done
She
that.
leaves. Yeah. Oh, my.
Oh, sorry guys, gotta go.
No, whoops. And so she texts him and says, I'm sorry I had to leave. And then later she's afraid everybody hates her, but they don't. They're all welcoming and understanding of it. We go to Loretta's store, and in walks the dad from Sister Sister. Did you realize that's who that was?
I now
Marcel.
realize it. Yeah. Which, by the way, I think Sister Sister had the best theme song of any show in that
Oh, yeah.
generation.
I would sing it now, but I
Talk
don't want to get flagged
about
on YouTube.
a two-way twister.
Yes.
I ain't never gonna
So,
let you go, Sister Sister. You're welcome.
so Marcel and Loretta are old friends, and they are flirty from go.
Big
Her
time.
and her nails are just clamoring to claw into him.
Clicky, click, click, click,
Let me
click,
at ya.
click.
Dig it in. And so she immediately invites him over to her family's big dinner on the 23rd. He says, I'll be there if there's gumbo. So we're using gumbo as some kind of flirtatious talk at this point. And
It's a love language in NOLA.
I guess so. So next we see Grace and Anthony talking again. She apologizes for how she bailed on dinner. He understands. and they're searching the store for Loretta's praline recipe. And Anthony finds it. He opens a box and confetti spews out. And it says, "Nice try, Anthony." She'd
I
set
thought it
him
was
up
cute.
with a
Yeah.
trap. That was cute. So then at this point, Grace says, "Show me your New Orleans." So they go see his mom, who's hosting this tradition event thing outside called the Jingle Bell Hop. So you go around town looking for jingle bells and you gather them up for a challenge. And the first team to return with the most bells wins, is what they said. Is there a time limit then? Is there a number we're shooting for?
This is an
Also,
excuse to have a montage, is all it is.
yeah, and I love an event. I love when they do different traditions in these movies. But I thought it was gonna be like a three-legged race thing where they had to hop around, but they're not. And then were
Mm-mm.
they handcuffed together in the beginning?
I don't
I
think
thought they were
so.
tied together, but then they weren't after they did their first challenge. I don't know. I have
I
more
don't know
questions than
either.
answers about the Jingle
Yeah.
Bell Hop. But they go around New Orleans and they got a bell at a hibachi restaurant and this, that, and the other. And then they come back to base camp and they won the contest. And
Because
at
they
this point, I
found the
wrote,
fleur-de-lis.
"What?
They found the fleur-de-lis on the tree. The big fleur-de-lis. Yes, the big symbol
I thought you
of
said the flea." I was like, "What is the flea?"
the
Okay.
fleur-de-lis. I was, yeah,
The
being
fleur de
French
lis.
and yeah, right.
Yes. And at this point, I wrote, "At minute 43, they have approximately designed 0 things for this renovation."
True.
We're just not even talking about it anymore. Who
It's
cares?
it's basically just an adjective at this
I
point.
I
Yeah.
hope Loretta's not paying them hourly because they are doing diddly squat for this project.
Nothing.
So at this point, Anthony invites her to Jordan's Christmas pageant. She freaks out to her friend, "Why is everyone being so nice?" And Alexa's like, "Chill out. You're likable. They're just that nice." So at the play, Jordan has stage fright, like the kids in these movies always do. And luckily, Rudy was on the sidelines, ready to jump in and convince her to not get stage fright. And she goes on stage and stands with her while they sing.
Hark the herald angels sing. Yes.
Mhm. Anthony is still bad at making pralines, whatever. She talks him out of concrete finishes in the house renovations. We're actually talking about the project for once, which I agree with. We don't need to start concrete in this home.
No.
Um, she then opens up and says that her favorite part about Christmas growing up was that she loved making snow angels with her parents, except it doesn't really snow in New Orleans, and so that's probably not going to happen. He says anything is possible. Put that in the back of your little Santa cap for now.
Mm-hmm.
Josh is not pleased.
I'm not at all. I mean, this is when I start to just be like, oh, okay, here we go. Like it feels like we were setting the stage for what we get next, which is this very elaborate snow angel date. So she's laying in bed. She gets a text at like 10 p.m., wearing full makeup, of course, still at 10 p.m., right?
Yeah, that's not bad. It's bad for your skin, but okay.
Yeah, right. So anyway, and he leads her out blindfolded to what I presume was the backyard or whatever, and he has basically laid down 1 billion white beads and strung up approximately 1 million twinkle lights in the backyard, and they make
Paper
snow
snowflakes.
angels. Yeah, and they make snow angels in the backyard, and he says he wants her to stay in New Orleans. Okay.
And then he got all that stuff from a Mardi Gras float from last year. You didn't like this scene?
It just felt,
I loved this scene. I
listen,
thought it was
I
so cute.
the sentimentality I loved. But in my mind, if it's like completely impractical and completely unbelievable that he would be able to pull this together in 90 minutes, I have a hard time with it. There is
I can
no
look past a
way.
lot of other things.
Oh,
Or I'm sorry, I can look past this more than a lot of other things, rather.
okay. I will give you, it was a very cute scene, but at the same time,
I
I
like
couldn't
that it
get
was
past
beads on the ground.
the,
I thought that was fun.
I did too. I couldn't get past the feasibility factor where I'm like, there is literally no way anyone could pull this off in 90 minutes to make that happen. But anything's possible on Lifetime.
Anything's possible at Christmas. At least they didn't actually make it snow like the other movie, All
Well,
Saints
that's true.
Christmas. It's actually snowed in New Orleans, and
I'll
that was
give him that.
bonkers.
Good point. Yeah.
So
Touche.
they leaned into
Yes.
the fact that it doesn't really snow.
Yes. I'll give you that.
All right. So it's time for Alexis's Christmaka party. Because she's Jewish, she has lots of friends who are various religions, so she has a big old cookout party in her backyard. Um, Grace is kind of like me. She's hiding in the kitchen and helping because she doesn't want to go out and talk to people. She feels awkward. So she invited Anthony to the party. He shows up and he is so dressed up. I'm like, oh, he
We're in a bow
feels
tie.
he's wearing a bow tie. He's self-conscious, and is the bow tie too much? And so this is where I got a little confused. Alexis wants them all to write letters to Santa at the party.
Yes.
And for every letter that's written, her company will donate $1 to charity.
I guess so. Yeah. But they're going to pick
That
a
doesn't seem
winner
like very
for
much
the
money.
no, and then they're going to pick a winner for the best letter, right?
Yeah.
So she's going to read all
that
of
will be
these
the
very
Christmas
personal
king.
letters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that'll be the Christmas king or queen. It didn't make sense. Also, there's like maximum 30 people at this party.
Well, that's exactly right. I also wrote, is pin the candle on the menorah something that we actually play? Is that something that's a thing? Have you ever played
Not
pin the
Jewish,
candle on
so
the menorah?
I have not. I have not done that. I think I've played with a dreidel once, but that's about it.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so Anthony has a hard time writing his Santa letter and decides that he wants her to read his letter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
So she does, and they both confess that they have feelings for one another. Now, this is what I appreciated. They said this, they were very open, yay, communication, early in the movie. We're not waiting until the last 5 minutes to say that we truly have feelings for one another, right?
yeah, I'll give you that.
Oh,
I
you
just
didn't
felt
like it.
I felt like at this point in the movie, and I wrote this in my notes, this is sickly sweet. This is like saccharin. Like it was just really, it was like molasses. It was so sweet and thick and syrupy. It kind of lost me a little bit here.
I don't agree. I liked it.
Okay. Here we go. Okay.
Ooh, okay. All right. So cut to, oh no, and she says this is the most fun she's ever had. And then they kiss and yay, communication. Okay. So it's the big 23rd party. Rudy gets the job in Toronto. Oh no, whatever will she do? ... She walks up to this party, working it in the most glittery, glitzy ensemble. She was like a disco ball.
She
I
looked
loved
gorgeous.
it. And he
Yes.
tells her that she looks like Christmas, the way Christmas makes people feel. I
Mm.
liked that.
I thought that was a good line.
That
Yeah,
was a
that
good
was a
line.
good
He
line.
knew it was a good line too. Yeah. It's so lovely. So they go upstairs, and this party was huge. This is all family.
I guess so. And I'm telling you what, go Lifetime for producing a party scene that felt very high budge. This felt very on brand for Patti LaBelle.
Are critical of the party scenes in these movies typically.
Very much so. Yeah.
But we had a jazz band, we had dancing, we had food, we had the whole nine. I was here for it.
Mm-hmm.
So Patty's having a great time with sister, dad, Marcel. And I wrote, they have completely given up on this design renovation project. So we see a phone on the table, and it's from Charlene. Charlene is texting this phone number and saying, where are you? Do I need a cab? Are you here to pick me up? Dun, dun, dun. Did you know who that was?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, they want you to believe it's like another woman or something, but it's really his sister-in-law. He was supposed to go pick her up to surprise Jordan at the party with her entrance. She's back from Turkey. But Anthony forgot to go pick her up because he's cutting a rug with Rudy on the dance floor.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Sorry.
Not a good look for Anthony trying to repair his dedication to the family by forgetting to pick up a family member for a big moment.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. So at this point, there's Patti has gotten gifts for everyone, and it's like an embroidered scarf. And Rudy's like, I didn't get you anything. Oh, but look, here's your design for your house. And it is the most generic stock photo of a modern farmhouse kitchen, grainy, pixelated thing I've ever seen in my life. And Patti says, is this my house? And she says, yes. Oh, I love it.
Well, let's be honest. The architecture was never the priority in this movie at all. It was literally just the reason she was in New Orleans.
I know, but I wish they hadn't shown the photo. The photo was so bad. It's just some shelves. This is not, it was nothing having anything to do with architecture. And Patty's, I guess, been hitting the hooch. So she's like, great. Then she says, I gotta go find my boo thing before my cousins think it's open season, which I had to laugh at.
I mean, that's a good line for Patti LaBelle for sure. Yeah.
Cut to Charlene shows up. Oh, was it Charlene? Yeah, okay, I read that.
Yeah.
And she just took a cab. Anthony thinks everyone's not pulling his weight. But his brother is mad that he forgot to pick her up, obviously. Rudy overhears and feels some type of way because Anthony's like, my family's number one. Nothing's gonna distract me from this. This conflict was it made
Not.
0 sense. I was
Hmm.
not here for the conflict because she's like, oh, okay, well, if I don't want to get in the way of your family, I got a job in Toronto. And he says, great, your job here is done. It's like they were just in love on the dance floor, and now they're breaking up in front of the building. It
Yeah.
was whiplash,
Bonkers.
but I guess we
Yeah.
had to have some kind of conflict. So that's what we're gonna do. Anthony's still working on his pralines. God help him. They're still terrible. And Patty gives him a pep talk to go get Grace back. He's like, okay, I know what I'm gonna do. Alexis, Rudy's packing to leave. Alexis gets her out of the house and says, let's go for a walk. Up rolls a streetcar, and his whole family is on it. It's decorated to the nines for Christmas. Marcel's in back waving, and it made me laugh out loud because he's
No,
part of the
right?
family now. Patty loaded him up on the bus, and he says, I need you to know that you belong in New Orleans with me. I'm choosing you. He says, I know you have your independence and you don't actually need me, but could you want me? That's aces. I liked that line because she's a
Hmm.
strong, independent woman. She doesn't need a man, which is what we usually get in these movies, the damsel in distress thing. But could we be together? Anyways, loved it. Alexis overwhelms Patty with her enthusiasm because she's like, oh, it's so nice to meet you. And Patty doesn't know what to do with that.
Patty's like,
And he's
okay, bye.
okay, gotta go. And we learn that Anthony has figured out the praline recipe. He gives her her scarf back. Oh, because I think she threw it at him at one point when they had their fake fight.
Yeah, yeah.
And they ride off in the streetcar into the sunset to live happily ever after.
With a nice smooch.
Did you like that last scene?
I
You
did.
didn't. Oh, you did. Okay.
I did. Yeah. It was a satisfying last scene because it sort of is them rolling off and arm in arm, and I liked that it kind of came full circle to the streetcar thing, and it felt very true to the film.
Okay, time for our gold or coal segment where we each give 3 gifts. If it's more gold, it's a praline dream. I know it's praline, but that doesn't rhyme with dream. Praline dream. If it's more coal, it's a burnt batch. And if it's a tie, it's just a meh. Merry Christmas. Josh, what do you think?
I am giving gold out of the gate to Patti LaBelle. I just thought she was great in this movie. I want her to be my grandma, right? It was just one of those where she was
Yeah.
so sweet and so warm and so wise. She had great lines. She delivered them well. The nails were just added beauty for me. It was great.
I was nervous in her first couple scenes. I was like, I don't know about this, but maybe they just filmed those early or whatever. But I thought she
Hmm.
nailed it by the end of it. She was so charming. I agree. My first piece of gold is I was physically smiling at the end of the movie. I loved the streetcar bit. Like you said, how they tied it all together and they brought it back. I was here for it.
Good, good. I'm giving gold. I loved all the praline talk throughout the movie. I love that we got a lot of baking, a lot of trying to work through the recipe. It seems like they really just sort of embraced that as sort of a B plot, which I was okay with because I love a good baking thing. So, yay,
Well, you got
praline,
plenty of it.
whatever. Yeah.
So much praline pralines. I will give gold for the cast overall. I know we already gave Patty a shout out, but I thought Rudy was great. The male lead was great. They all did a great job. They were a happy family. I was here for it.
I am going to give some coal here, and you will probably disagree with me, but I felt like this one was just a little boring.
Huh.
It just lacked any kind of conflict that made sense in terms of their relationship or working through backstory or anything like that. It was like we got a third of the way into that they were into each other, and the rest of the movie was them just further falling in love. Like, okay, next. It didn't really go anywhere for me.
Okay, next you for that comment. But I will say my last thing is Cole. My Cole is the dispute was bad. I mean, that she
Mm-hmm.
overheard. He wasn't saying anything bad about her, but she took it the wrong way, and then that's what broke them up for 0.5 seconds. That was bad. But I do not think this movie was boring. I was into it the entire time. I was heavily entertained.
Okay. Agree to disagree. That's fine.
I guess so. Pumpkin Pie Wars.
So bottom line, we had 4 gold, 2 coal here, and overall we think this one is certainly worth your time. It is a Praline dream.
Yeah.
Definitely. I did think at the end of the day, like I said, it wasn't the most exciting of movies, but would I watch it again? Yes, I would. And here's why. Because I thought the relationship, though nothing really happened with that relationship for me, it was still a relationship that I found myself cheering for. Like, I wanted them together, right? So I would absolutely watch this one again. Final thoughts
They
from
had
you?
great chemistry. They had great banter.
Yes.
It felt lived in. It felt natural and not forced at all. I really liked them together.
And this is not the first time Keshia Knight Pulliam has been in one of these movies, and I think she does a good job in this kind of a setting too, sort of playing
On
that
my
female
DVR,
lead in
after
these.
I had recorded this one, they showed I don't know the title of it, but another one of her movies from a
Yeah,
year or two ago, and I started watching it too, and I'm gonna finish it later. She was like a Sirius XM radio DJ
yeah,
basically for
yeah,
some Christmas channel, and yeah, I'm here for it. I like her a lot.
yeah. I think she did a great job for sure.
And that, friends, is another episode of Do You Watch What I Watch?
Special thanks to Nick Schwartz for our theme song, and of course to all of you for listening. Hey, if you like our podcast, be a friend of the podcast, would you please? Write a quick review, subscribe, hit that like button, tell a friend, make sure everyone you know is listening to the podcast so we can expand our community here. Hey, we're also on the social media channels of Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at doyouwatchwhatIwatch.com, so give us a follow, leave a comment, let us know what you're watching. You can also connect with us on our website or find plenty of links to everything you need, including our merch store at doyouwatchwhatiwatch.com.
Josh, the apron sample and the movie notebook sample where you can take notes during your movies showed up this week, and they are adorable. You should be very proud of
Yes,
yourself.
I'm excited about it. Yeah, for
If
sure.
only Anthony had had her Do You Watch What I Watch apron on during all those Praline segments.
I'm just saying, product
It
placement
says
someday.
ready for my baking montage, and it's very cute.
Perfect. Perfect for the season
Next
for
time, we've
sure.
got a new one from Lifetime coming your way.
Yes, we are watching It's Merry Textmas. And so here's the lowdown from IMDb. Every year, the family gathers at Abuela's house in Mexico. When Gabby accidentally adds Alex to the family group chat, her well meaning family decides to secretly invite him to join them for Christmas.
Who's Alex?
Stay tuned. We will have much to discuss about this one, Jennifer. And until then,
May your days be merry and bright. See you next time.